Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Plainsborough's virtual interactive policing presentation. As always, my name is Patrolman Nick Fazio with the Traffic Bureau here at Plainsborough Township. Tonight's presentation is going to be given by Patrolman Rich Wolak. He's going to teach us a little bit about what to do if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident while you're driving out on the roadways. I will pass it over to him for an introduction now.
Good evening. Just as Nick had said, my name is Officer Wolak. First name is Rich. I've been with Plainsborough Township since 2010. In 2013 is when I started in the Traffic Bureau. I've been there since then. I am my department's one of the only practicing reconstructionists. So if there's any serious motor vehicle accident, including fatals, that's when they call me out.
Patrolman Wolak, I appreciate you being here tonight. I'm sure everybody else will as well. I know that you've prepared a presentation for us tonight. We'll give you some time just to get that screen share going for you. And thank you very much for the presentation that you're about to give us.
All right, so this presentation is going to be what to do after and when you're in an accident. So the first thing you want to do is whenever you're involved in an accident is you want to always stop. You never want to drive away from the scene of an accident, even if it's a minor one. The reason behind that is because Title 39, which all officers in the state of New Jersey have to follow, has two statutes that I'm going to basically go off of. The first statute is 39:4-129. Basically, the way the statute reads is, according to this statute, it is illegal for a person to knowingly leave the scene of a car accident in New Jersey. Even if you are involved in a single car crash resulting only in damage to your vehicles, you must stop as close to the accident scene as possible and notify the nearest law enforcement agency. Now, that could either be an agency like Plainsborough Municipal, that could also be county, or it could also be state police, depending on who has jurisdiction over that area. In more serious collisions where another person's property is damaged or someone is injured, the consequences for leaving that accident scene are more severe. So the second one, well, the penalties for this. So if there is a violation of 4-129, if it is a first offense for leaving the scene of an accident resulting in property damage only, you may be sentenced to serve up to 30 days in jail in the county where the offense occurred and to pay a fine ranging from $200 to $400. You may also have your driver's license suspended for 6 months and earn 2 points on your driver's license. If you're leaving the scene if your leaving the scene charge is for a second offense and the accident results in solely property damage, the exposure is more expensive. The jail sentence is between 30 and 90 days. The fine ranges from $400 to $600, and a license suspension could be up to 1 year. However, you still will be subject to 2 points on your driver's license. The most severe violations of this statute are for accidents involving personal injury or death to another person. In these situations, a person convicted may be required to serve up to 180 days in a county jail and to pay a fine between $2,500 and $5,000. A license suspension for 1 year applies if it's the first offense, and permanent license forfeiture occurs for the second offense. A conviction will also result in 8 New Jersey motor vehicle points on your driver's license. Those 8 points will increase your insurance. Now, the second one, which is 4-130, the driver of a vehicle or streetcar involved in an accident resulting in injury to or death of any person or damage to property of any one person in excess of $500 shall, by the quickest means of communication, give notice of such accident to the local police department or to the nearest office of the county police or state police. Like I had stated before, it's the jurisdiction of who has it. It could either be municipal, it could be county, or it could be the state police. Now, the second thing you want to do is when you are in a motor vehicle accident is you want to determine any injuries. Now, that first and foremost should be any injuries to yourself, any occupants in your vehicle, and or parties in other vehicles. So after the car accident, immediately determine whether anyone is injured. If so, call 911 to get an ambulance and the police on the scene. Even if the incident was minor and everyone is cooperative, call the police. That way you'll have an official report to give to your insurance companies. Remember, the safety and health of the parties involved in the accident trumps any financial considerations. So take the necessary safety precautions right away. The next step is, after you've determined if there are any injuries, is if you have the ability, get yourself and your vehicle out of danger. If your vehicle involves are still operational, then get them to the shoulder and off the main road. Make sure you pull completely off the roadway to avoid being hit by any other approaching vehicles. If you have flares or reflective emergency triangles, set them up to warn other drivers. This only should be done if you are confident enough and a safe location to use these. If at any time you do not feel safe, do not attempt to set up flares or set up these reflective emergency triangles. If there appears to be danger of a possible explosion in the vehicle, you always want to get out of the way and away from the vehicle. If the vehicle is on fire, do not attempt to move the vehicle. Just get out of the area, get off the side of the roadway, and get away from the vehicle. Now, if you are in a safe location, say a parking lot, you could possibly be in a business in town, the vehicles can remain where they are. You don't think you have to get the vehicles out of the way. Lastly, always remember your hazard lights. That is the easiest thing that you can do to alert an approaching driver that something's going on. Now, once you have determined injuries and then possibly moved your vehicle, you always want to contact the police. Just as I had stated at the beginning of this presentation, those two statutes is why you always want to contact the police department. The easiest way is you can dial 911. If it is not an emergency, or if you do have the local police department number, you can use that number. If there are injuries, or if it's an accident where you think someone else may be injured, always dial 911. If the accident is more than just a minor incident, or if anyone is injured, call 911 to get the ambulance and the police on scene as quickly as possible. Even if the accident was relatively minor, you want to call the police to get a police report. Now, why do I have to call the police? Not only under those two statutes of failure to report an accident, is stories can change. The example I would use is if you get into an accident and don't call the police, or the police don't come to the scene of an accident, things might change. You ask, how would they change? Well, if the person who was involved in the accident with you on scene guarantees that they're going to pay for your damages, but after the fact, they change their story. Basically, an easy way to explain that is the person on scene states, yes, I will take care of it. Don't notify the police. Don't notify my insurance company. You believe them. You leave the area. Now that person calls the police and say they were involved in a hit and run. And then you're the one that caused the problem when the entire accident, you were the victim. Now they have the ability to make the report first. And you are catching up after the fact, where now you have to explain, no, I was the victim and they had caused the accident. Now, when the police do arrive, you always want to make an accurate record of what happened during the accident. Make sure you tell the investigating officer, it could be one officer, it could be two, exactly what happened to your best ability and knowledge. If you do not know certain facts, tell that to the officers. You never want to speculate, and you never want to guess or misstate any of the facts. If you are asked if you are injured and you're not sure, say that you are not sure, not that you are not injured. Often, when it comes to injuries, pain injuries from motor vehicle accidents become apparent hours, if not days, after a collision. you should always make sure statements made by other people involved in the accidents are accurate as well. The one thing I can definitely say is once a report is filed, it has gone through and you've picked up a copy of the report from records. They are rarely changed. So if a statement is not correct, if something is not put in correctly, a report will not be changed after the fact. Now, photographs. Everyone has a cell phone nowadays. Seems everyone has a cell phone nowadays. So we all have the ability to photograph. If the situation is safe, you can take pictures of the vehicles if there is visible damage. If you have visible injuries, you can also photograph those as well. However, you should at no time interfere with an ongoing police investigation. If the police are on scene and they are taking statements and they are recording it through either their body camera or their own photograph, we ask you, try not to get in the way of the officer. Let the officer continue their investigation. And if you want to interject anything, feel free to do. If you cannot take pictures at the scene of the accident, take them as soon as possible, as soon as you leave the accident scene. Now, once you've left the accident scene, the best thing to do is notify your insurance in reference to this. Many insurance companies require you to notify them as soon as possible after an accident. Now, seeking medical attention. If you are injured during a motor vehicle accident, the easiest one is the officers will either have an ambulance on the way or one will be requested for you on the scene, at which time you will seek medical treatment and everything will be put immediately in the report. Now, if medical attention was refused the day of the accident, you can still document these injuries. Just as I said before, sometimes injuries show up later. Often injuries caused by motor vehicle accidents are not immediately apparent. It is very common to feel pain a day or two, possibly two, following an automobile accident. Unless you are absolutely certain you were not injured, you should seek some form of medical attention at your local emergency room or by seeing your family physician. Even if the accident involved minor injuries, you can still sustain a serious and permanent injury to your spinal cord. If during the accident you did lose consciousness or were dazed, or even for a short period of time following the collision, you may have suffered a concussion or closed head injury. You can cause behavioral changes if left untreated. If anytime you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, prior to the arrival of police or prior to the arrival of an ambulance, if loss of consciousness ever happens, or if you feel dizzy in any way, immediately notify that police officer arriving or the medical personnel who responds there also. Now, after the accident, you'll need to get a copy of the accident report. This is also called an NJTR1 report. On average, these reports take anywhere from 7 to 10 business days for the report to get picked up. When an accident report is taken by an officer, first he has to get all the information. He has to write the report himself, and then that is submitted through the traffic bureau to make sure everything is correct. That could take 7 to 10 business days depending on the schedules. Now, once you have your report, or once you need to get a copy of your report, you have two options. There is an internet search which is basically called crashdocs.org. This gives you the ability to access this report from your home, and you can just print it out and have it for your own records. If you don't have the ability to print it out or access through a computer, you can always stop down to our police records, which is located at police headquarters, 641 Plainsboro Road. It is always a good idea to always keep a file of any action reports in case you need it down the line. Keep all action-related documents and information together, whether it's in a folder or however it is. This information should include a claim number, the claim adjusters who's handling the claim, names and phone numbers of all contacts, receipts for any car rentals or any other expenses occurred as a result of this accident. This could only help you when dealing with your insurance company directly. They may ask for this information. They may ask for this information 6 months, a year later, where you may not have this. If you have it in a file, it's better just to keep it in one location. That's it.
Can you stop the screen share? All right, Officer Wolak, I appreciate the presentation that you just put on. I know that I had a couple questions that came up in my mind while you were presenting, and I think it's important that we may revisit just one section of it. I know you said that if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, if the car's in some type of trouble, if there's a fire, something along those lines, if it's in water, then do your best to get out. But would you recommend for a vehicle crash in an intersection on a busy road, would you recommend staying inside the car or trying to get out and get away from that car in that situation? Do you think it's safer to be inside or to try to cross that street at that point?
It really depends on the location itself. If you are on what I would classify as a municipal roadway, a 25-mile-an-hour roadway, your safest location is still within that car. But you have to take into consideration where you are. If you're on a highway and you have the ability to get out of that vehicle and safely on the shoulder, it is always recommended to do that. So you really need to know the environment you're at and also where you can get to. If a tractor trailer is coming down the highway, they may not be able to stop in time, at which time you are no longer safe in that vehicle where you would be safer on the side of the roadway. If it was a parking lot accident where cars are not going to be traveling fast, you would be safer in the car than standing out, say hypothetically speaking, if it was raining on the side of the roadway. So you really need to know the situation that you're in and know how to interact with it.
Appreciate that. And as far as all of the stuff that comes after with the insurance company and medical records or something along those lines, I know that's a lot for someone to try to remember who may have just gone through a traumatic incident. Is there something that the police department hands out to remind people of like kind of what to do next, the steps after an accident?
Yes, we do. Every officer in Plainsboro has been given several sheets. They're basically just copies of it, and it's a list of instructions. So on that, you will find the officer who's handling your investigation, the date of the collision, and the case number. It will then go through instructions on the best way to do it. Now, I always recommend anyone that I give that sheet to, once you get back to a safer location, back to your house, or if you want to just pull over to a safer area, read through it. It will tell you exactly everything you need to do. On that form, also included is the tows that we use. Now, say your vehicle was towed. You'll know who has your vehicle, their address, and a phone number, so you don't have to go and look at that. Everything you need is on that sheet. Also on that sheet, like I had said before, there are two ways of getting your accident report. One is either using Crash Docs. That is a very easy system, and on that you will just need the case number and then also the date, and you will be able to find that accident. Also on there is the address, 641 Plainsboro Road, so if you choose to come down here to police headquarters and get a copy, you can. So it tells you exactly everything you need to do step by step, and should guide you very easily.
So my last question would be, is there something that is what we see within our township? Is there like a leading cause in what causes car accidents, or do you think there's something that people can do just to kind of prevent them or a little more? And also, is there something that maybe we could be wearing in the car to make sure that we're preventing injuries as much as we can while we're driving?
Yes, probably the two things, I'll explain both of them. The first one is driver inattention, and the second one is seatbelts. So I have found the most amount of accidents in Plainsboro are due to driver inattention. Now, whether they're on their cell phone or they're driving on what I kind of call autopilot, they're not really paying attention to their surroundings. They're missing that light that just changed. By far in Plainsboro, driver inattention is one of the leading contributing factors to accidents. Now, that will kind of get you out of the accident. Now, just as Officer Fazio had said, the second one is always wear a seatbelt. Even at low impact accidents for a seatbelt, anything after 35 miles an hour is where you start seeing accidents. Now, also in the state of New Jersey, you are required, every occupant, not just the front, not just the passenger, every person in that vehicle including minivans or anything, everyone has to have a seatbelt on, unless they are on the smaller statute, and then at which time they have to be in some kind of car seat or a booster. But every occupant has to be secured in some form in that vehicle. So paying attention while driving, making sure you're not on your cell phone, really focusing on the driving and the seatbelt could only help you in for any kind of accident.
Appreciate it very much. It doesn't look like we have any questions from our chat room here tonight. However, I just want to remind everybody that if something does come up, if you do decide you have a question afterwards that you would like it answered, you can always post in the Plainsboro VIP group or reach out to me directly through our Facebook page or call down to our local police department. I just wanted to thank Officer Wolak for coming and giving us all this information regarding his presentation. Like I said, if you have any questions, I will make sure I will get them over to Officer Wolak. We'll get everything answered. Officer Wolak, thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me.
Good night, everybody.